I will be hitting a 400 kilo total next year. And that is a bold fucking statement. Like, not just if I can get everything perfect and if I manage to catch a break or I can stay uninjured. Like, no. I will be hitting a 400 kilo total next year. And I want you to understand that it's not just some arbitrary number that I'm chasing. It's not just a statement that I'm making to get clicks on YouTube, like, you know, clickbait activation. It is a statement that I am making to rewrite who I am as a lifter. And I am saying it because I have made so many fucking shifts in how I see myself, in how I show up in my training, in a lot behind the scenes over this past year alone. And like 9 months ago, if you had told me that I would be sitting here saying this, I think I would have laughed in your face, because back then I did not see myself as the lifter who could actually embody, like actually make a statement like that without gagging or feeling like she was in the middle of an identity crisis. And I think I was really caught between chasing the dream and being held back by so much fear. And everything has shifted in that last 9 months. Like, the reason that I'm talking about this window is because 9 months ago, 10 months ago now actually, I competed at nationals, British nationals. And this was something that for me sparked a literal life-altering journey, because it was a goal. Getting to nationals was a goal I had worked towards for 2 fucking years. And I got there, and it was the complete opposite of everything that I'd imagined and everything that I had dreamt, for no other reason than what I had sparked internally. And so over the last 9 months, I have literally rewritten everything about myself as a lifter, not from a place of like, I need to completely overhaul it, but simply because I knew that I was fighting for all of the wrong fucking things. And I have also had a big revelation recently, and I shared this on my Instagram, that I have often waited until I'm like over the hill to share my lessons. And I literally made this pledge to myself and to people on my Instagram. Again, I've been very bold with the statements because I am a big believer in going 10x, and that literally being easier than going 2x. And so I have made a pledge to myself not to shy away anymore, because I was waiting until I'd overcome and telling myself that I had to almost have this sense of like wisdom and extract all of these really powerful lessons for what I was going through and what I was doing to be of value. And I was starting to fear even sharing any of it. I was placing massive expectations on myself. You know, nationals I have shared a lot about on my page, and it was something that for me, I actually look back on in a very different light now, because if you are new to my YouTube channel, if you are new to my podcast, first of all, hi and welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. But British Nationals, I compete in the IPF, was a goal of mine for a very, very long time. And to summarize it very quickly, I went from being on the high of all highs, my total was blowing up, my deadlift was jumping week to week to week, to having a complete and utter identity crisis. I had so little self-belief, and I was pedestaling nationals so much. And so rather than it being this cherry on top of like, yay, we're here, we did it, we hit the total to be here, let's now have some fun, it brought out everything that I didn't even realize I had been burying that entire time. Of what I believed about myself as a lifter, what I was telling myself was good enough, pedestaling totals, numbers, lifters, other lifters. And it basically meant that when nationals came around, my anxiety, because of my fucked up belief system at the time, it basically caused me to have such bad anxiety that I went to hospital with heart palpitations, convinced that I was having a heart attack. It caused IBS flare-ups. It caused insane body weight drops. It meant that my performance plummeted, and I had a horrific time at nationals. I had a breakdown at the end, like backstage as it were, and it was a horrific experience with what should have been, in a lot of ways, the best time of my fucking life. And so in this last 9 months, I have learned a lot of lessons. I have been on a hell of a journey, and I've actually started a free community space because, as I say, I was waiting until I had overcome all of these things to tell myself that there was value in sharing it and in it. I was waiting until I had overcome these things to actually share the value in the lessons. And so I made a pledge to myself, I made a pledge on Instagram to no longer do that, to no longer shy away. I'm done fucking hiding my voice, because I know that there is so much that I have done, that I have learned, that I need to share, and that I know you need to hear. So whether you are in the process of building a monster total, but you feel these fears and reservations coming up all of the time, and you feel like you are fighting harder for those fears, for the reasons not to go after it all guns blazing, than you are the dream that you've had for the last 3 years. Or whether you have some really good momentum in your training right now, but you can start to feel that anticipation building up, and you can't tell whether it's nerves or really excited anticipation. And I want to start a mini series where I really want to share the raw, honest truth about building this total, because I am aware that this is a bold fucking statement. But everything in the last 9 months has completely shifted in how how I'm training, how I view myself. And that's why I can sit here now with zero hesitation and say, next year I am going to hit a 400 kilo total. And in this series, I'm going to show you exactly how I'm building it. I'm going to give you the raw, honest truth. I'm not going to sugarcoat. I'm not going to just do a highlight reel and walk you through my training. I want to show you the setbacks, but I also want to show you the breakthroughs, the mindset shifts, the training methods that we're using, but everything that is building a total that I have dreamt about for a long fucking time. And I am done telling myself that one day I will hit it, and I am going after it. And I want to take you with me, and I'm so excited to be starting this, because there have been some really hard lessons that I've learned that have completely flipped everything for me. So I really wanted to divulge this. And I actually started a free community where I was reflecting more on, okay, from nationals alone, I have added 25 kilos to my total since then, plus that, like more than that. And I started this free community to share the lessons and the confidence shifts, the mindset changes that I've gone through to get me to that point. And so this new series that I'm starting here is going to be everything about how I'm actually progressing from that, how I've taken those lessons and how I'm flipping them on their head to literally be my launch pad to this 400 kilo total and beyond. And so this is going to be a very raw, honest truth. And I know that some of you are probably thinking 400 kilos for where you are right now, Beth, is a massive jump. Am I being delusional? You know, what if it doesn't happen? Because this is, again, one of the biggest things that has held me back from making bold statements before, is there is a chance that it won't happen for you. Especially with powerlifting, one wrong thing could happen on the day and you end up capping your total by 10, 20 kilos. And this has happened to me before. And I know that it's bold. I know that it's a bit delulu. I know it's a bit crazy, but this is exactly why I'm fucking making it. Because do you know what's crazier? Is thinking that you can achieve those biggest goals, because there's a reason that I'm thinking this is a possibility for me, because it absolutely fucking is. There is a reason you're thinking about, whether it is your first powerlifting competition ever, whether it is adding another 50 kilos onto your total in a really short time frame, whether it is hitting a next huge benchmark with one of your lifts, adding a red to your squat, hitting your first red plate on your bench, whatever it is. What is crazier is thinking that you can get to those goals without changing the way that you see yourself, without shedding the fears, without shedding the limitations, the behaviors that are literally holding you back. And so this is why I am not just going to talk you through it. I'm literally going to show you, I'm going to embody it, I'm going to give you everything, every single step of the way. And so to kick off this entire series, what I really wanted to do was to sit down today and give you the two biggest fucking lessons that have got me to the point of actually sitting down and making this fucking video. The lessons that have completely changed how I train, how I think, and how I am approaching this next chapter of my journey, because they are things that I know that you need to hear too. And if I had watched a video like this 6 months ago, perhaps it would have collapsed time for me. Like I know it will for you, like I know it's going to for me as well. But if you have these really big stretchy goals, this is literally what's going to change them from exactly that, a goal, a dream, a one day, I'm going to, hope and pray and cross every single limb that I have to one day get there, to actually making it your fucking reality and setting this as something you are going after. First lesson, you are either fighting to prove that your fear was right, or you are fighting to prove your power, and you cannot have it both ways. You don't get to have it both ways. Because every single day, every single training session, every morning that you wake up, you're doing one of two things. You are fighting to justify all of the reasons that this goal, whatever springs to mind right now, when I'm making that statement, you can pop this in the comments, you can let me know, you can DM me, whatever springs to mind when I'm saying this, whether it is a dream total, whether it is a specific number that you're working towards right now, whether it is a bold step like doing your first competition, like pushing towards, you know, a qualifying total to get you to nationals, whatever it is. Every single day, you are doing one of two things. You are either fighting to justify all of the reasons why that is not going to happen for you, or you are fighting to prove that it fucking will, to guarantee that it will. And listen, hand on heart, I completely get it. I know how loud and how overwhelming these fears can feel. Like whether it is that you're not ready, that you're worried you're gonna fuck it up, that you're worried you are gonna validate this belief that you have about yourself, whether it is that I'm not good enough, whether it is that, you know, I am lazy, whether it is that I am destined to fucking fail. Like, just think about this for a second. Like, every time you step under the bar, or every time you get a new training block and these thoughts run through your head, you're either reinforcing that story or you are pushing to prove the exact fucking opposite, right? Because you're either trying to justify it and find all of the reasons why those stories, which are just stories, are true, or you're pushing to prove that you are fucking powerful, that you are good enough, that you are capable, that you are fucking strong, that you are a powerhouse, and that you are willing to stand on that belief and hold the conviction before the numbers even show up, right? Show their selves. I was gonna say rear their heads. But you are pushing to prove that the fear was right, or you are pushing to prove your power. And this is also a conversation that I've had in a past video, in a past training, where the concept of confidence is something that people get so backwards, expecting that confidence is this reward at the end, when actually, to get the results that you want, it is the exact thing you have to show up with. It's not the output, it is the fucking input. And this is exactly what we need to be doing as lifters. And it's a hard battle to learn, and you can go back and watch that video to actually understand this concept to its fullest. But in my opinion, there is no fucking neutral ground. You are either fighting for those fears, or you are fighting to prove your worth, to show that you are that bad bitch before the numbers even show up, before the results are even there, right? And every time you feel those fears, but you let them make a decision for you, you are proving them right. And you and I both know deep down that they are not fucking right. Like I said, they are simply stories. They are literally just fucking stories. And this gets to be the moment where you stop letting fear take the driver's seat, where you stop questioning whether you are strong enough, ready enough, worthy enough, that you know enough, and instead you decide, and I use that word so fucking intentionally because it is a decision, it is a choice, that this is the moment where everything changes for you. And this is exactly what I did about a couple of weeks ago, where I'd been through all of this journey and I decided, okay, so much fucking growth has happened, but I am still holding back. I know who I am now, and I know that everything that I want is a possibility for me. And that is not something I was saying back a few months ago, but I decided in that moment that I am done fucking letting those fears run the show. I am gonna go all guns blazing into what I want. And that does not mean that these fears aren't going to come up. And this is a side note, but you are a fucking human. And your total will blow up so much faster when you stop expecting that your fear is never ever going to show itself. Because I truly used to believe that once I hit X total, once I achieve this certain level, whether it was a competition or hitting, you know, another red plate on my squat, that fear was not something I was going to experience. And if it did come up, that it was wrong. That I was wrong for feeling scared, that I was doing something wrong. And this is something, if anyone ever fucking tells you that you should not feel fear, that you should not feel overwhelmed, they are fucking lying to you. And I remember telling myself when I was working towards my first 120 kilo squat, I was pedestaling the fuck out of that weight and saying that, you know, once I achieve this, I know, the reds won't scare me anymore. And I was expecting that that would be the case. And all that happened is that rolled over onto 130. And then when I'd achieved that, it was then 140, and I was becoming terrified at the additional green on that bar. It will always be that, and that does not make you wrong for feeling that fear. It makes you a fucking human. I think this is something we all forget as lifters. We are so numbers oriented. Girl, you are going to experience emotions. You are not wrong for experiencing those emotions. You are literally just a human being. And that fear is going to come up whether you're lifting 100 kilos, 200 kilos, whether you are pushing to like a world-class total. This is what will happen. But you know what will blow up your total is the minute you release the expectation that it's not going to come up and you start accepting that it will. But what will set you apart is what you decide to do in the moment that that fear comes around. Like literally being able to embrace the fact that you are in control regardless of whether or not or when that fear shows up, because fear is not a problem. Fear is not a bad thing. It is not the red flag or the warning sign per se. Fear is literally just resistance, right? And resistance only shows up when you are on the cusp of your next fucking level. So if you feel it, one of my favorite reframes is not seeing it as the reason to stop, the red flag waving to say, no, 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 we can't do this. Literally being your fucking green light, your permission slip, your pass to go, okay, if there is resistance, I am on the cusp of leveling the fuck up. Now is the time to lean in. And so if you feel it, if you feel those fears, the emotions, the doubt, the frustration, the overwhelm, it means you're growing. It literally means you are in the right place. And so if you think that once you achieve a certain level that those feelings are not going to come about, you are wrong. And you're going to be hit with a nasty fucking surprise. Because the only difference between you and the version of you that hits a 300, a 350, a 400 kilo plus total is not whether or not you feel fear. It is what you choose to do when that fear shows up. And one of my favorite analogies for this is that it's a lot like parking your car. Or, you know, when you're following maps to a place that you've never been, there's a load of like one-way streets and you're like, oh my God, where am I going? And you instinctively turn down the music so that you can concentrate better, right? Or if you're parallel parking and like, oh my God, I'm a bit out of practice here, you turn down the music so that you can concentrate, so that you can think, right? It's not that the music itself is wrong or bad. It is literally just noise that you need to lower so that you can concentrate on doing what you fucking need to do, so that you can focus on what matters. And your emotions work in the exact same way. Because they're not wrong, they're not something you need to demonize or, you know, belittle yourself for, or something that you need to get rid of. But what you can do is just turn down that volume so that you can regain perspective and keep taking action. Because all you need to do is simply acknowledge those emotions and remember that you are a motherfucking powerhouse who has the freedom of choice, because you don't have to listen to them, but you can act anyway. And so understanding that that fear coming up does not mean that you have to change anything about what you're doing. And I know how scary they can be, but the truth that I need you to hear is that you cannot build the total of your dreams while clinging to the fear of not getting there. And this is the lesson that literally changed everything for me. Because fear has a sneaky little trick, okay? Fear literally just keeps the dream alive. So it has this method of literally just like whispering in your ear, like, don't go all in yet, or don't put yourself out there, or maybe hold yourself back a little bit. Just wait until you're stronger. Just wait until next block, until you're more ready, or until your technique is absolutely perfect before you push it back up again, right? And it allows us to live in the what if. And this is also something that I call your logic leash, right? Because when it whispers like that, like doubt isn't as loud as we expect it to be. It's not shouting in your ear like, you're not good enough, you're a fucking failure. It sounds like the voice of reason, right? And it therefore becomes hard to argue with because it sounds like a mature level of thinking. Have you ever noticed this? That like when you started lifting, this is a big thing for me, that I used to not feel fear. I would load shit up. I had probably what I would maybe call unearned confidence, that I'd never even hit close to that load, and I would have the fucking confidence to load it up anyway. And the self-belief to know, well, doesn't matter if I don't have the evidence, like I can go after this. And it's like the more that we lift, the less that confidence stays, because now the stakes are higher. And so what starts to happen is that doubt becomes this little voice of reason whispering in your ear. And because it sounds like the voice of reason, it sounds logical, it's really fucking hard to argue with. And so what happens is we start leaning into it. And it's like this little leash gets tied around our necks, right? And it's what I call the logic leash that starts pulling you back to either not taking action or taking misaligned action with the dream that you actually have. Because it's much easier to hold on to the story of needing, you know, more work on your technique than it is to actually own the statement of like, well, shit, I am the lifter who can lift this now. This was a huge story that I had when so I first hit 130 kilos for 4 reps for a lifetime PB. And about halfway through, I had a hip shift, and then this didn't feel great, and then that didn't feel great, and then I racked it. And before I'd even re-racked the bar, I was pissed. I was pissed off. My brain did not immediately go like, oh my God, you just hit this weight for 4. It was immediately picking out all of the flaws, all of the stuff that was wrong with it, right? And this was because it was much easier for me to cling to those things and pick it apart than it was just to actually own this identity of like, shit, you are the lifter who reps out 130 kilos for 4 fucking reps. And so fear has this really sneaky way with this coupling of what I call the logic leash of keeping this dream exactly that, a dream, right? By telling yourself not to go all in, or like, oh, it's week 2, best cap it, not do that extra like 2.5 kilos so that I don't overshoot it and fuck up this block. And listen, to a certain extent, of course, these things are reasonable, of course they're logical, but this is what it makes it so hard to distinguish between where am I holding myself back because I am scared versus what is actually a sensible choice and a sensible decision, right? And what it allows us to do is, because of that, and we hold ourselves back and we cap, it allows us to live in the what ifs. It allows us to live in this possibility that like one day I will be the lifter that I say I want to be, or I will be like the lifters that I look up to. I'll be that boss bitch, you know, Barbie powerlifter, whatever it is, and the lifter that actually deserves to be there. And so as long as you avoid it, all of those doubts, all of those stories stay quiet, right? Because let's say, I don't know, a competition goes badly, or let's say you actually do push yourself and you miss it, you don't get that lift, or it doesn't go the way that you pictured, or it wasn't fucking perfect. Suddenly you are staring down the thoughts that you've been running from. Right? See, I told you weren't good enough. See, I told you that you weren't ready for this. See, I told you that we needed to spend more time on your technique before you loaded that. What did I say? Right? And that, the possibility of that feels fucking terrifying. And so we end up protecting ourselves with avoidance, right? We keep waiting, we keep holding back, we keep delaying. And what I need you to understand is that avoidance simply shields that dream. Avoidance shields your ego. It shields you from the possibility of disappointment, right? But what avoidance also fucking does is it guarantees that that fear grows and that fear stays alive, because it ends up stacking doubt on doubt. Every time you hide, you hold back, you push things aside, it stacks that doubt higher and higher, and it literally will teach your brain like, told you had every right to be scared. And then before you know it, another training block goes by, another month, another year, and you are still stuck. You are still fighting for your fears. You are still no closer to actually hitting the total that you know you are capable of. And that dream doesn't grow. It literally just stays a dream. It's not something that progresses with you the more that you grow as a lifter. It stays something that you are just thinking in the future as a possibility. And it's like a little whisper rather than this vivid fucking thing you know you are going to do. And I need you to listen to me on this, okay? The platform does not exist to prove whether or not you belong. It literally exists to expand you. And it's easy. I'm not gonna lie to you. It is easier to fight for your fears than it is to go after it. It is easier to keep arguing for all of the reasons why this isn't going to happen for you, all the reasons not to go after it, because there is always risk. You're a human. There is always going to be fear. There is always going to be doubt, always overwhelm. There's always going to be the possibility that it doesn't work out. But you know what's fucking scarier than any of that? Is waking up a year from now and realizing you are still exactly where you were. Go back and watch my latest YouTube video, my last podcast with my incredible client who had this exact realization. That's what tipped her over the edge to end up working with me, because she realized, fuck, I've been telling myself I want to get around a barbell for a year and I haven't done anything about it. And this is the realization that the cost is what will wake you the fuck up more than any fear. That you played it safe, and you've still been playing it safe all this time. You kept fighting for those fears and fighting for them so much louder than anything else, and that you never gave your chance to see what is actually possible for you, like just how fucking powerful you actually are. And this is why I do not fight for my fears anymore. This is why I fight for my fucking power, because I realized at nationals I was fighting so hard for all of the reasons why I did not deserve to be on that platform. Like, what the actual fuck? And it is sneaky. Fear is sneaky. It makes you hedge your bets. It has you leaving just that little bit more in the tank and holding yourself back so that you don't fail, and, you know, minimizing any sting so that it won't hurt you as much. But that same hesitation is the reason why you are still where you are. And do you know what? That to me is so much fucking scarier, because if you keep fighting for those fears, then that dream doesn't grow. It literally just stays a dream. And so I knew that I had to make a decision that I can either fight for those fears and protect myself and defend why it is safer and easier to stay smaller, or I can fucking fight for my power. And let me tell you, everything changed when I made that decision. And this is the number one lesson that has me sitting in front of you today saying I am going to hit a 400 kilo total. You know, everything, my mindset, my lift, my total, my confidence, everything changed. And I stopped fighting so fucking hard for it, because I need you to understand that if you are chasing a big goal, and I know that's the reason why you're going to be sitting watching this video, I know you want the tips and the tricks, but this is something before we get into any of that you have to understand. You have to decide as well, because you cannot have it both ways. You either fight to prove your fears were right, or you fight to prove your power, and you cannot have the total of your dreams while, you know, clinging to the fear that you might not get there. And this is why I have binned all of that off, and I fight so much fucking harder, and I need you to do the same. If you say you have these big goals, you have a decision to make right here, right fucking now. And it's not easy. The easy option always is going to be the fear, but is that what you actually fucking want? Oh, spicy breath came out today. But, okay, the second lesson off the back of this, because we are not done yet, is that if you are bold enough to dream it, you better be fucking mature enough to build it. We understand now, we're done fighting for the fear. Okay, once we've decided, right, I'm going to start fighting for my power, the second thing you have to understand is that now you have this vision, you sure as shit better be bold enough to actually go after it and do the stuff to get you there. And I know this is something that most people do not want to hear, but if you are watching this, I know that you have got big, stretchy, delulu fucking goals too. And dreaming, as I said, same as fear, is the easy part. Right? Writing your goals in your notes app is easy, sending a message to your coach, or putting something on your vision board, your pin board, getting fired the fuck up after a lift, or a banging song on your playlist, scrolling through Instagram, seeing all of these other people doing it and being like, this is what I want. That is the easy part. Building it, however, is a different fucking beast, because building it requires maturity. It requires the maturity to recognize your patterns, your beliefs, the thoughts, the habits, the behaviors that are holding you back. All of the reasons why you are not where you want to be. Maturity to, you know, stay the course when the spark dies down. When you are stuck in a, fuck, I've got to spend 3 months drilling this technical aspect, this one cue to lay the foundations, right? Maturity to stop chasing what only feels exciting and start committing to what is actually going to move you forward. The maturity to call your shit out. The maturity to admit that the way you have been showing up and the shit that you've been doing is not going to get you to where you want to go. And the maturity to stop blaming circumstances or bad luck or timing or work or fatigue and start asking, where do I need to change? What in me needs to change? Because if you are bold enough to have these incredible goals, you have to be bold enough and mature enough to recognize the shifts that have to fucking happen to get you there. Because those goals themselves, for me, a 400 kilo total is not delusional. For you, 350, your first comp, whatever it is, your first 50, 60, 70 kilo bench, those goals are not delusional. What is delusional is thinking that you are going to get there without having to shed any identities, without releasing any of the shit that you have been doing to date. That you're going to get there without releasing and changing stuff that is holding you back. Delusional is solely chasing the spark, the shiny object syndrome, the excitement, because when it dies, and it will, you are fucked. I told you Brutal Beth was coming out to play today, okay? Because if you want the big total, you want to be on that platform, you want the big breakthrough, you want the next play on the bar, then you have to grow into the version of you that can hold it, that can actually do it. Because chasing just the hype or the sparkle, right? When it fades, like I said, you are screwed, and building it means being mature enough to look at the patterns that have to shift. It means being willing to shed identities that have kept you safe, and that, my love, will be so fucking scary. Of course, your subconscious and your brain wants to protect what it knows. The fear of the unknown is so fucking scary, it will always pull you back. But recognizing that and understanding that, that is the mark of maturity. Because that version of you, past versions have got you to now, I guarantee cannot carry the weight of your dream. You're gonna have to level the fuck up, and that can be terrifying. And I get it. Look, we all know excitement, something new, the spark, the shiny object, the dopamine feels, the hits feel so fucking good when it is all new. It feels amazing. But the problem is when you are only chasing that spark, what happens when it dies? Because it will, because the music will always fade. The hype will wear off. The lifts will get harder. The progress will slow down. And if you have built your dream or the goals that you have on that alone, on the hype, the shiny object, you're fucked. And this is why this entire journey is about maturity, because when it dies, maturity is what's going to keep you consistent. And we know, above all else, consistency is what actually gets you there, right? And this is why this lesson, the shift into maturity, is again the thing that will fucking change everything for you. And it is delusional to think that you'll hit the platform and magically become the version of yourself who can handle it. Or from that first time, staying stuck in all of those same habits and behaviors is what's suddenly going to get you to another 100 kilos on, when you have spent every day until then clinging to the same beliefs, clinging to the same behaviors, the same identity that has been keeping you capped at that level. You want the big fucking total, you're going to have to shed it. And this is what I have realized, and this is exactly what I am doing and taking you through to get me to that 400 kilos. But maturity is what allows you to hold it, okay? And it's not glamorous. It doesn't always feel good, it's not always exciting, but it is what separates the lifters who will stay in the cycle of maybe one day and it being a dream from the people who are actually going to fucking build it and hold it. Because the harsh reality is that most lifters won't get there, or certainly won't get there in the time frame that is actually possible for them. I say that because I have got lifters to insane fucking heights in a time frame that literally logically does not make sense. And it's not because other people are not strong enough or that they don't have potential, but because they won't grow up enough to do what it takes when it's no longer exciting, when the newbie gains start to dwindle, because it will happen. And they'll cling to the high, the hype, the Instagram ready moments, and crumble when the shit, the heaviness, the hardness sets in. But if you are mature enough to build it, you are going to outlast everyone. I promise you that now. And this is what I'm doing. I'm 3 years in. My progress has not been as fast as other people that I've seen come into the world. And it would be so easy for me to blame other people and be like, well, genetics, or maybe they don't have as hard externals or whatever. But I am not just bold enough to dream a 400 kilo total. I am mature enough to fucking build it, to understand these lessons. And if you are listening to this too, I know that you are as well. And of course, there's ego in this, because if you'd actually put your head down and done everything that you said you were going to do, you probably would be hitting heights that would terrify you. You would blow your own mind. But for one reason or another, you don't. Okay, and so you're left time after time with an endless to-do list and things that you know you probably should be doing, but you aren't. And maybe you have tried, but it's felt so hard, so heavy, and you were met with so much resistance that you stopped. And so maybe that list grows, or the awareness grows, but your dream stays a dream and you stay stuck. But this is why the Powerhouse way is different. This is why in my world with my clients, I will always push a different fucking agenda, because having the conviction, the self-leadership, the ownership to say no fucking more. And this is where I have been, because the moment that you recognize what you can no longer accept, what can no longer continue, is the moment that everything will fucking change, okay? Hear me when I say that, because you and I both know that you can already do it. I know you can do it. But you don't need me to tell you that, because I know that you already know. But you do not solve your problems by wishing and sitting on a dream. You solve them by becoming the person who can. And this is what this series is. And I am so excited to take you with me, because this is what maturity is. It's not perfection, hype, shifting your identity. It is not about perfection or hype. It is literally shifting your identity to become a match for your vision. Because none of it matters if, you know, the programs, the habits, none of it matters if the vision and the identity do not match. And this is why this is the lesson. Those combinations, the brutal combination, is what I guarantee will blow shit the fuck up. Because the second you start choosing self-leadership over ego, and conviction over avoidance, and identity over the spark, the hype, the shiny object, you stop waiting and you start fucking building. And this is the shift that I guarantee will take me to a 400 kilo total next year. So buckle up, bitch, because I cannot wait to take you with me. And if you have been waiting for permission to go after the stretchy goal yourself, this is fucking it, okay? Your time to step up is now. Do this with me, because this is just the beginning. And I'm so excited to build it all publicly, to shed my own fears, be really brutally honest, but also very fucking vulnerable in every single aspect of this with you, because 400 kilos next year is happening, and this series is going to be your front row seat to the process, okay? So make sure to like, to subscribe, to get yourself here, and I cannot wait to see you in the next episode.